Hello everyone, I am the storyteller, and tonight I am here just to help you relax, to drift off to sleep by the sound of the waves, like the whispers of old souls. I know you have come to this video not just to hear the story, but also to find a deep, peaceful sleep. But before we begin, please gently like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to tell you strange stories under the dim moonlight. Where are you from? And what time is it where you live? Just relax. Let your body relax. Put all your worries down by your pillow. Let me take you into a world of mysteries where the wind and the waves mingle, and unsolved mysteries are waiting to be told. Are you ready? Drowning in the milk of the moon. I try to roll off the checkered blanket as Daddy desperately tries to wipe the sticky drips of mint chocolate from my ice cream-coated face before it reaches the new white blouse left exposed to stains. I promised your mom I wouldn't stain your shirt before dinner, he said, leaning down to whisper the words in my ears. I giggle, squirming in his arms. My eyes drift past the nearly empty playground to a pair of eyes in the bushes. The setting sun makes them glow. Daddy, look! The bush has eyes! He glances at where I'm pointing, and the eyes disappear. I gape after them. Nothing there, he says distractedly, going after my face with the wipes again. Now stop squirming, little worm. I giggle again, finally staying still for him to wipe half the mess off my face. The playgrounds are empty now. Movement catches my eye. Feet on the cold, crunchy grass. They're held by tearing sandals. Daddy, look, I say, pointing at the owner of the feet. A girl stumbles towards us. He turns his head, startling when he sees the girl. Immediately he turns to me. Go play on the playground, Lily. And don't get your shirt dirty, he says strictly. All right, Daddy, I say, planting my bare feet on the ground. I hurl myself towards the empty slides. When I manage to climb the slide, I look back out at Daddy. I can just make out his words to the girl. He's asking her how old she is. She says she's 17, gasping hysterically and glancing behind her frantically. What's wrong with her? I look down the slide, my eyes widening. The slide stretches out to the sharp mulch. Daddy, I can't get down. A small whimper escapes me as I look up. The girl is holding a knife. I'm not allowed to use those. Daddy raised his hands in the air. Speaking softer, she looks up at my cry. Daddy tries to move in front of her. Oh no, she says with a laugh. Is that your daughter? Don't you dare touch her. He snarls. She laughs, grabbing Daddy and dragging him towards the slide. They're standing at the bottom when I speak. Who are you? I ask. She smiles pure delight on every inch of her face. Do you know what a serial killer is? She asks. I shake my head no. Well, I go around, and when I see someone with pretty eyes, she brings the knife to Daddy's throat. I frown again. Knives are dangerous. She should be more careful. I take them out of people. That way I can look at them forever. Why do you have a knife? Knives are dangerous, I say. Can you help me down? I'm stuck up here, I say. No, Daddy bursts out. Lily, go the other way. Run. No, the girl says. You won't. Do you know what color your eyes are? She asks. I look at Daddy. He looks scared. They're quarter-colored, I say. reluctantly looking back at the girl. The girl laughs pure delight in every bit of the sound. You and your daddy's eyes are wonderful. She looks at Daddy, throwing him a smile. Lily, that's your name, right? Yes, I say. She smiles, laughing again. They're gray, like the milk of the moon, an ink-black iris drowning in the milk of the moon. She gives a soft groan of pleasure. Oh, that just sounds so beautiful, doesn't it, Lily? My eyebrows creased in confusion. The moon doesn't have milk. She sighs. Well, I think it's time to cut this meeting short. Where are you going? She smiles. Well, after I take your daddy's eyes, I'll go find a nice, pretty pair of amber ones. How will you take Daddy's eyes? I'll cut them out, she says. Just like this. She presses the tip of the knife to the skin just below his fuzzy eyebrows. He tells me to cover my eyes just before he starts screaming. 16 years, 43 days, 19 hours, and 37 minutes later. Hey, Lily. How are you doing? I startle, looking up to see Mary on the other side of the receptionist's desk. Hey, Mary. I'm all right. Why? She slides a newspaper article onto my desk, dragging her eyes from mine. IRISSTRIKESAGAIN. The famous Boston serial killer, nicknamed Iris for her obsession with her victim's eyes, strikes again. This time taking the life of a 43-year-old businessman, Trevor Clint, was found with his eyes carved out of his face and left dead. This victim sported violet eyes, a very rare eye color brought on by albinism. He was a family man, survived by his 2 daughters and wife. The police force wants to reassure the public they are doing everything they can to stop Iris. Anyone with any information on Iris is asked to come forward to police or call the following number. I slide the newspaper away before I can read anymore. Bullshit. They haven't done crap to find her. She's been roaming around, killing man after man. Half the world is too stuck up to believe that it's a her. The other half is so busy being offended by the misogynistic asses who refuse to accept it could be a woman they forget that the real problem is the serial killer. The police force is too worried about drunk teenagers and day-late taxes that nobody bothers to look for her until they don't have the eyes to look. I'm taking the day off, I say sharply. Mary opens her mouth for a moment, then shuts it. I clench my teeth, grabbing the newspaper, and quickly slip it into my bag. I navigate the room full of sympathetic eyes. I hate eyes. Hate them more than anything else on the human body. Hate the way they move. Hate the way they follow every movement. More than anything, I hate the way they look when they're carved out of someone's head. I rap on the door to my boss's office. His muffled voice gives me permission to enter. I walk into his office, head downcast. He looks up from a call, sympathy immediately crossing his face. I hate sympathy as well. Hate it more than the whispers, the news articles, the interviews. Sympathy and eyes, my 2 worst enemies. I bite back a bitter, deranged laugh at that. I grit my teeth, putting on my best, the daughter of that dead guy voice. One I quickly realized got me farther than a bristly, angry snap. I'd like the rest of the day off. I lower my voice to a whisper for extra effect. Of course, Lily, he says quickly. We're all here if you need us. I don't put the effort into faking a smile. Just nod softly, mutter a thank you, and leave the office. In the lobby, I glance in a mirror, stare at my eyes, the same eyes that got carved out of my father's head. an ink-black iris drowning in the milk of the moon. I turn away before I break something. I walk out of the office and glance at the clock. I have 2 hours to get there, and 2.5 hours before dark. 2 hours, 23 minutes, and 49 seconds later. A figure clad in black slips next to me. I've been sitting on this bench for an hour. The water soaked through my jeans to my flesh. Shivers run through my body. "Glad to see you again, Lily," she says. There's something about her voice, always moments away from bursting into a cruel, mocking laugh. It feels like a knife dragged across teeth. I shudder, glad the shivering covers it. I grip the knife in my pocket, looking at the last children leaving the playground. The same one I sat at 10 years ago. Mint chips still sticky on my lips as this woman murdered my father. I've seen her 4 times since then. None of them had been by my own will. This time's different. I watch the children, trotting after their mother, giggling and tripping over each other with the promise of sweets and safety back in their home. "Not going to talk to me?" she asks, leaning back boredly. I ignore her, watching until the children slip into their car before I speak. "What do you want?" Iris smiles. Ah, there it is. That voice, almost as nice as your eyes. I tense, clenching my teeth until they hurt. "What?" I hiss. "Do you want?" "Oh, come on, darling," she says with a laugh. "We both know these meetings have been about you since I killed your daddy. What was his name?" She searches the air. "Ah, Carl?" My hand slips on the blade in my pocket. It cuts my hand open as I lurch, throwing myself off the bench. My voice turned to a furious, animal-like snarl. "You keep his name out of your damned mouth." I snarl. My hand comes out of my pocket, dripping blood. She looks at it, then laughs. Standing up, she walks up to me, leaning in so I can feel her breath on my nose. I can smell it. I'd always imagined her breath smelling like rotting flesh, like death, like power. Instead, it smells like mint, almost like she's just eaten a piece of gum. "Ah, what are you going to do? Kill me?" She coos, taking my bleeding hand in hers. She inspects it in the quick fading light. Sad Lily. Pathetic, really, but I'm not one to toy with my meal. That includes name-calling. I snap. My unoccupied fist curls in on itself and slams into her head. She reels from the hit, staying on her feet and launching back to retaliate. I bring the knife out of my pocket and start swinging at her. I've gotten her in the head, the arm, the leg. Thump, thump, thump. Every single kick I land brings complete, utter euphoria. It's a high I've never experienced. She stumbles, hitting the ground. I drop to my knees and punch her in the jaw. Over and over. She still struggles as I take the duct tape I bought out of my bag and press the adhesive over her mouth, tying her hands behind her and wrapping her ankles to stop her kicking. Then I yank her hood down, looking into her eyes. They're not afraid, just angry. I stiffen. This was the moment I dreamed of. I wanted to see the fear in her eyes. They're perfectly, utterly plain. Not rare, not beautiful, just there. Muddy, plain eyes. Unbridled, burning rage makes it hard to focus. I feel dizzy. Dizzy is such a good way. All the pain gone, my only focus on how to hurt this monster. "How's it feel?" I whisper, a laugh escaping my throat as I lean down to speak in her ear. "Let me tell you, Iris, you are not getting away today. You are dying, whether I drown you in the milk of your damn moon." I take a moment to take out a lighter, watching its glint in the slow glint against the moonlight. Or I might burn you. I haven't decided how yet, but it will happen. She doesn't waver, her eyes never moving. The nerve she has does something to me, clouds my judgment. Then, peace. I know exactly what to do. I take the knife, and watching her face, I do the one thing I know will work. I press it into the flesh under her eyebrows, just like she did to my father 16 years ago. And I listen to her scream, Insatiable, Part 2. Her voice, trembling, cut through the silence. Daddy? The words scraped against something deep inside me, something buried under the roar of the hunger. My body moved before I could think, lurching forward, one decayed hand reaching. Her face twisted in horror as she stumbled back, pressing herself against the wall. No, Daddy, stop. Stop. Please, God, stop. But I couldn't. The hunger tore through me, relentless, demanding. Her heartbeat echoed in my ears, a steady drum calling me forward. I reached for her, my jagged breath wheezing like rusted hinges. Her tears glistened in the dim light, her small hands trembling as she held them up, useless shields against what I was about to do. I was almost on her when the memory hit, sharp and blinding. Her tiny hand in mine, sticky with melted ice cream, her laughter bubbling up as she looked at me, wide-eyed with trust. I love you, Daddy. The memory burned, more painful than the hunger. I stopped mid-lunge, my clawed hand hanging inches from her face. Get away from her! Emily's voice rang out, fierce and trembling. She barreled into me with all her strength, the impact jarring but barely enough to move me. A flash of silver caught the weak light. She had a knife. Emily. My voice was a wet croak, unrecognizable. She slashed at me, the blade tearing into the rotted flesh of my shoulder. I didn't feel it. She planted herself between Grace and me, her chest heaving, her eyes locked on mine. You won't touch her, she spat, the fear in her voice barely hidden under the force of her words. Emily shouted without turning, her voice ragged. Go, Grace! Don't look back! Grace hesitated, her tiny figure trembling, then bolted down the stairs. Run, Grace. Run far away from me, baby. The sound of Grace's retreating footsteps faded, leaving only Emily and me in the suffocating silence. She squared her shoulders, her trembling hand gripping the knife like it could keep the darkness at bay. The hallway narrowed as Emily stepped forward, knife trembling in her hand. The dim light from the shattered bulb above flickered across her face, her jaw tight, her eyes locked on mine. Stay back, she said, her voice steady, even as the blade shook. Stop! Stop! Please, God, stop me. This is my love. This is my life. It wouldn't let me stop. The hunger surged like a wave, driving me forward. My rotting legs dragged against the floor, my fingers twitching as they reached for her. I screamed at my body to stop, but it kept going. Stop. Please, for God's sake, stop. But the hunger roared. It was a force, pulling my body like strings on a marionette. Emily lunged forward, slashing the knife, the blade slicing into my forearm. A wet sound, something that used to be flesh tearing open, oozing dark, thick rot. I didn't feel it. Her eyes widened for a fraction of a second. She'd been expecting pain, a reaction, but there was nothing. David, listen to me. Emily's voice broke as she stabbed again, tears streaking her face. You're in there. I know you are. You love us. You love Grace. But her words barely reached through the roaring hunger, and my hands moved without me, reaching for her. Her expression faltered, the resolve cracking just slightly, but she gripped the knife tighter. She stepped back, placing herself fully between me and stairs. I lunged. The knife slashed again, this time catching my ribs. I felt the wet scrape of the blade against bone, the sound sharper than the pain I couldn't feel. She screamed for Grace again, her voice raw and desperate. "Run, baby! Run!" Grace's sobs echoed from the bottom of the staircase, her small figure darting out of sight. I lunged, my decayed fingers closing around Emily, seizing her in a moment when her eyes flicked toward Grace. A heartbeat of distraction was all the hunger needed to strike. Emily screamed, her voice cracking into something raw and animalistic. Her fists pounded against my chest, each blow weaker than the last. Her nails raked my skin, peeling away rotted flesh, exposing yellowed bone. She twisted, fought, but I held her like a vice. Her body was warm, so warm, it burned against the rod of my hands. Her eyes locked on mine, wide and terrified. For half a heartbeat, I thought I could stop. Then the hunger surged again, tearing through me. My body moved before I could think. My teeth sank into her neck, tearing through skin and muscle with a sickening wet snap. Hot blood surged into my mouth, metallic and thick, spilling down my throat in waves. The taste was fire and ecstasy, searing through what little humanity was left in me, and I hated how good it felt. Emily's scream turned into a gurgle, her hands clawing at my face, pushing weakly as I tore deeper. Stop. 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 But I couldn't. The hunger was everything. Her body jerked once, then stilled. Her blood ran warm and steady over my hands, pooling at my feet. Her lips moved, forming words I couldn't hear, couldn't understand. Her eyes found mine, wide and glassy, but there was something else there, a flicker of recognition, a memory, love, maybe, or disgust. Then it was gone. The light in her eyes snuffed out, leaving only the dull, empty stare of the dead. I let her fall, her body crumpling to the floor like something broken, discarded. My hands shook, slick with her blood, her warmth already fading. I wanted to scream, to claw at myself, to rip this hunger out of me with my bare hands. But there was nothing left, nothing but the hunger and her lifeless body at my feet. "Emily," I tried to whisper, the word choking in my throat. Black ooze dripped from my mouth, pooling with her blood on the cold, unforgiving floor, the hunger inside me roaring in triumph. No! What have I done? Then I heard it, a small, sharp gasp. Grace. I turned, my body sluggish. She stood at the base of the stairs, her small hand clutching the railing. Her eyes were wide, red from crying, her face pale. "Daddy?" she whispered. Her voice cracked something inside me that should have died with Emily. I tried to speak, to tell her I was sorry. But when I opened my mouth, all that came out was a moan, wet and broken. Black ooze dripped from my chin, pooling at my feet. Grace screamed, her voice breaking into choking sobs. "Mommy! No, Mommy, please!" She stumbled back, gripping the railing as if it could hold her world together. My chest, if I still had one, felt like it was caving in, but the hunger didn't care. It surged again, pulling me toward her. "Graksh," I croaked, the word barely intelligible. But she heard it, and she turned and ran. her small figure disappearing into the dark. I stumbled forward, my body following her scent, even as my mind begged for the darkness to take me. The hunger stirred again, twisting inside me, demanding I follow. I looked down at Emily. Her blood was still warm on my hands, her lifeless body crumpled and broken at my feet. I am losing everything. The hunger didn't care. It roared, pulling me to my feet, dragging me after Grace. Number, please, let her go. But the hunger will never let go. The street stretched out before me, empty and cold. My feet drag against the pavement, leaving wet, dark smears behind. The hunger had quieted, but it wasn't gone. It never was. It coiled beneath my skin, waiting for the next surge. I stumbled past darkened houses, their windows like hollow eyes. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, sharp and frantic. I froze, listening, but the sound faded into the hum of distant traffic. What am I doing? Emily's face swam before me, frozen in that final, lifeless stare. Her blood still clung to my hands, thick and sticky. My body ached, not from the fight, but from something deeper, a guilt so heavy it made every step feel like wading through tar. Then a flash. Sterile white walls. A row of test tubes, their labels blurred and meaningless. A shattered vial, the liquid spreading across my face and hands like blood. I stumbled, my shoulder hitting a street lamp. The cold metal bit into my decayed skin, snapping me back to the present. The hunger stirred, hissing in my ears, but the memory clawed its way back, stronger now. We shouldn't push this far. My own voice, frantic, echoed in my head. I could almost feel the heat of a lab, the hum of machinery. But the memory didn't stay. It bled, twisting into something else. Emily laughing, a steaming cup of coffee in her hand, her hair falling loose around her face. Grace on the living room floor, cradling her teddy bear, her smile lighting up the room. Stop, don't think about them. The hunger seized those memories, warping them. Emily's laughter turned into her scream. Grace's smile faded, replaced by wide, terrified eyes. I doubled over, gripping my knees. The hunger whispered, "Keep moving. She's still out there." I obeyed. The woods were silent except for the sound of my feet dragging through the underbrush. The world was muffled here, the thick canopy of trees blotting out the moonlight, the air heavy with damp earth and rot. My breath, or what passed for it, came in short, ragged bursts. The hunger had returned, gnawing at my insides like a rabid animal. Then I saw her. At first, it was just a shadow, something flickering between the trees. But as I stepped closer, the shape took form. Emily. Number. It can't be. She stood with her back to me, her head tilted at an odd angle. Her clothes hung in tatters where I had shredded them, dark stains splattered across her blouse. Her arms hung stiffly at her sides, and her posture was too rigid, too dead. Emily? But voice cracked, low and growling. She turned. Her eyes were clouded, a milky gray that seemed to pierce straight through me. Her skin, once smooth and warm, sagged in loose patches, exposing butchered flesh. Her mouth hung open slightly, lips cracked and blackened. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. My mind had been slipping since the hunger took hold, twisting memories into cruel replicas of reality. But this wasn't a memory. She was here, standing in front of me. She wasn't human anymore. My hands trembled as I stepped closer. Her head tilted further, her movements jerky, like a puppet with tangled strings. Her gaze locked on mine, and something flickered in her expression. a shadow of recognition. The hunger in me stirred, hissing and coiling like a living thing. I could feel it inside her too, like a heat radiating from her decayed form. It linked us, bound us in a way that no words could. She took a step forward, her movements uneven but deliberate. I didn't move. I couldn't. Her mouth opened, and a low, gurgling sound emerged. Half a growl, half a moan. She took another step, then stopped. We stood there, facing each other. Then the sound of footsteps broke the silence. A man appeared on the path, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. He was walking a dog, a large, lumbering thing that barked at the sight of us. The man froze, his eyes darting between me and Emily. The hunger surged, roaring in my ears. My body moved before I could think, lurching toward him. Emily moved too, a grotesque mirror of my movements. The man screamed as we collided with him, our hands tearing at his clothes, his flesh. His flashlight clattered to the ground, the beam illuminating the scene in harsh, stuttering flashes. I felt my teeth sink into his shoulder, the hot rush of blood filling my mouth. Beside me, Emily clawed at his chest, her fingers digging deep into his skin. The dog barked frantically, pulling at its leash, but the man's screams drowned out everything else. His warmth seeped into me, dulling the hunger for a brief, fleeting moment. I turned to Emily. Her face was smeared with blood, her eyes still clouded but alive with something primal. We fed together, tearing him apart piece by piece. His screams faded, replaced by the wet, sickening sounds of flesh being ripped from bone. When it was over, we stood there, our bodies slick with blood. The man's lifeless form crumpled between us. The dog had fled, its leash trailing behind it. Emily looked at me, her head tilting again. The recognition was still there, faint but undeniable. This wasn't love. It was something else, something twisted and monstrous. But in that moment, it felt like we were connected, bound by the hunger and the carnage we'd wrought together. I wanted to scream, to claw my way out of this nightmare. But all I could do was stare at her and wonder how much further I could fall. The first one appeared the next night. Emily and I had just finished. A man in a suit stumbling from a bar, his tie loose around his neck. His screams were already fading. His body crumpled on the ground when the hunger in me finally dulled. I was wiping the blood from my face when I felt it. A shift in the air, subtle but undeniable. I turned, and there he was. He shouldn't have been moving. His chest was ripped open, his throat little more than a mangled red mess. But his head twitched, then turned toward us. His eyes were empty, the sockets ringed with blood, but something stared out of them. Emily tilted her head, mirroring his movement. A low sound came from her throat. The man stood, jerking upright as if pulled by invisible strings. My legs felt weak, shaking beneath the weight of what I was seeing. But then another appeared, and another. The woman from the gas station, the jogger by the park, faces I hadn't let myself remember, all shuffling forward, their limbs twisted. The sound they made, a low, gravely moan, layered and deep, wasn't noise. It was communication. And I realized the truth. They weren't individuals. They were connected, not to each other, but to the hunger, to me, to us. I looked at Emily, her blood-streaked face impassive, and I knew we were leading them, guiding them. Grace. The hunger stirred, roaring with purpose. I turned toward the dark horizon, where she was still running, still hiding. The horde moved with me, their jerking steps falling into rhythm. We stand at the edge of the hill, the town sprawled out below us like a patchwork of light and shadow. Street lamps flicker, faint and distant, their glow seeping through the trees. The hunger twists inside me, relentless, pulling me forward. Beside me, Emily twitches, her bloodied hand jerking at her side, her head tilting toward the lights. She growls low, her broken body still and yet coiled, ready. For a fleeting moment, something stirs, a memory, faint but sharp. Grace's laughter as she spun in the backyard, her hands outstretched to the sky. Emily leaning against the doorframe, smiling, her hair catching the sunlight. My family. But the hunger shreds it, devours it. I glance at Emily, her clouded eyes fixed on the town, her mouth twisted into something between a snarl and a grin. The bond between us is no longer love, it's need, endless, insatiable. The horde gathers behind us, their collective presence amplifying the pull. I feel their hunger like it's my own. Emily tilts her head toward them, growling in unison. There's no division between us now, just a single relentless instinct binding us together. The lights of the town seem closer, brighter. The scent of life hangs in the air, thick and intoxicating. The hunger whispers, louder now, surging with the weight of the others. The mantra swells in my mind, stronger than before. Grace, grace, grace. Then, music. It drifts up the hill, cutting through the cool night air. The horde behind me stills, their jerking movements halting as the sound reaches them too. I shuffle closer to the edge of the hill. The source of the sound becomes clear, a parade winding through the heart of the town. A line of floats glinting in the glow of street lamps. The faint murmur of a crowd rises and falls, a tide of laughter and cheers. A girl, perched high on a float, her silhouette framed by an arch of shimmering lights. She wears a crown, its rhinestones catching the light in sharp, brilliant flashes. Homecoming. The word slides into my thoughts like an echo from another life, a memory scraped raw by the hunger. The horde stirs, their murmurs rising into a single, unified sound, a deep groan that ripples through the trees like a storm wind. The parade below doesn't hear it, their cheers drowning out the first whispers of doom. Emily lunges forward, and the horde follows, their shuffling steps gaining momentum. The trees shake with their movements, the ground trembling as the mass of us begins to descend. The hunger in me surges, unrelenting, unstoppable. The distance between us and the town closes, the fragile tether of memory slipping from my grasp. Grace. The name whispers through my mind one last time before the hunger consumes it. The horde moves as one, and we descend the hill, stalled. I'm not gonna take a dump in a public restroom. I'm not gonna take a dump in a public restroom. I'm not gonna... Damn it. I'm not gonna make it home. And it's right there. That grim, concrete bunker masquerading as a sanctuary of sanitation. Sickly 40-watt bulbs over twin entrances generating just enough illumination for the beast to be visible in the night. Barely there, beacons of hope guiding desperate travelers to safety, or to ruin if they function for a siren, which to me, they always have done. Late night, deserted park, squat building lurking like a gargoyle. Hard pass. I haven't avoided that place for 35 years, only to let it pounce now. I'll keep walking. It's only 15 minutes. I can hold it. I can make it. I can... Fuck. I can't believe this shit. Literally. I don't do public toilets. At school, at work, in restaurants, anywhere. My schedule has been refined over the years to ensure it's never a requirement. My plans are meticulous. My itinerary for every occasion is drafted around preparatory expulsions and drainage. The first 3 items on my agenda before any excursion are always be clean, be presentable, be empty, quickly followed by have phone charged, cash in wallet, and an escape plan, though these are secondary considerations. I can get away with screwing up on those. Bladder, too, can be humored if it refuses to comply, though with difficulty and potential for embarrassment. Empty bottles, vacant alleys. It can be done. Bowels can't. Not in any way, shape, or form. Don't even go there. And yeah, there have been close calls. Various delays have led to some near catastrophic misses when my schedule got shredded by forces beyond my control. Like tonight, when I broke a golden rule by chatting longer to a Tinder match than I should have, missing the 10 o'clock bus. It was dumb, but things seemed to be going well, and I liked her. Could have predicted the "had a lovely evening but didn't feel a connection" text I received 10 minutes after saying goodnight and boarding the later bus. But I let my guard down because she played the part of interested well. My bad. I was kidding myself anyway. Not like it was going to last, even if we did decide to continue. It never does. I was already on dangerous ground at that point, but it would have been okay if not for the bus taking a meandering route through every unpronounceable village in the county and getting held up by roadworks at midnight. Okay, maybe it makes sense to re-tarmac roads when there's less traffic, but still, 30 minutes onto a 60-minute trip, and by the time I disembarked, my gut was groaning. Haven't been this close to the edge in decades. The pressure, the persistence, the pain. Stumbling along like a drunken gazelle, clenching my butt cheeks, trying to think happy thoughts. But I can't. Something's up in there. I can't hold it. Not for 15 minutes. Not for 15 seconds. It's coming out, and I have to go in. To the belly of the beast. To a urine-soaked germaphobe's nightmare. To that den of depravity, again after 35 years. FML. I bite the bullet and veer off the path, half running, half tiptoeing across a narrow strip of grass to the concrete slabbed perimeter around the monolith. It seems to inhale sharply, holding its breath as I approach, like a slumbering, concrete apparition, solidifying its presence in readiness for a reunion. I almost stutter to a halt as I reach the entrance with the faded male symbol on a scratched Perspex panel alongside. I haven't seen that up close since '89, and just being here now makes my stomach clench tighter than my ass. I want to turn, walk away, give up, and just shit my pants. But I can't let this haunt me forever. There has to be a time to face the past. That moment, apparently, is now, because my feet keep moving, and next thing I know I'm inside, feeling like I'm 13 again. The smell hits me first, a mix of stale urine, bleach, and something rotten that almost resurrects the sushi I devoured 2 hours before. Until the familiar surroundings my eyes drift over, cause it to cower back down inside. I focus on the stalls at the back of this ceramic-tiled crypt. I keep my eyes forward, avoiding the cracked mirror over the grime-coated sink, the crude graffiti on the walls, the trio of yellowed urinals that leer as I pass, like dirty old men with pissed pants. Beneath my feet, crumpled tissue and puddles of stagnant liquid squish and splatter. Above me, fluorescent light tubes flicker and fizz. What am I doing here? I almost spin on my heels and head straight back out of this reeking vault, but my gut screams and the battering ram in my bowels launches a fresh attack, splintering the castle doors and poking through. I rush into a stall, not the one against the exterior wall, or the one in the center. The one to the right, I trust is safe. Just get it over with. I think, banging the metal door shut and sliding the lock. I undo my belt with one hand while curling the other inside the toilet dispenser to feel for a telltale sheet. Safe. But even if it was empty, there was no stopping this now. Button open, zip down, pants dropped. I turn and lower myself towards a broken seat, hoping to hover and not make full contact. But I have to abandon my revulsion and ideals of cleanliness as the castle gates buckle and the hounds of hell howl and thunder through. The missed bus, the delays on the road, the sushi that clearly wasn't good. A perfect shitstorm that created a perfect shitstorm, one that leaves me quivering and sweaty. 60 seconds later, I'm still here, trying to ignore my reality. The stink, the feel of the seat beneath my fully deposited ass, the creaks and buzzes and eerie, flickering emptiness of this alien landscape, one I never thought I'd visit again. But I did. I came back, and it didn't kill me or send me screaming into the deepest pits of despair. I sigh, feel myself relax, allow my eyes to slip open. No, it didn't kill me. But this wasn't the cubicle, where the nightmare occurred. That was 2 away, below the window, the one with the hole in the wall separating it from the middle stall. The hole plugged tight with tissue paper, like the one I see next to me now, as I turned to pull the flush handle. Was that there when I came in? How did I not notice? I took the time to check the dispenser. How could I have missed what was opposite? Was I that blinded by the urge to evacuate that I overlooked what's haunted me for decades? The hole in the cubicle wall with the scrunched up tissue securing it, keeping its purpose a secret until an unwitting victim comes along, innocently locking themselves into a vertical coffin, lowering a protective barrier of clothing, exposing themselves to the evil forces lurking on the other side of a flimsy plywood panel. A patient predator that chooses its prey wisely. The young, the vulnerable, the meek, sitting there and festering in the middle stall of 3, biding his time until an opportune moment arises and the trap can be sprung, until the plug can be removed, clearing a roughly carved 3-inch diameter passage between the domains of decency, like it was 35 years ago, and is again now. I can't move. I can only sit, trousers around ankles, ass glued to the seat, beads of sweat on my brow as I shock-see the ball of tissue vanish. Hear shuffling, furtive sounds from the neighboring cubicle as the sound of the flushing water fades. Observe a flicker of movement in the darkness beyond the hole. And then, with a hiss, something shiny and serpentine slides through. A snake with glistening scales slithers an inch into my stall, then another. Its body flexes and sways. It tastes the air in my direction with a forked tongue. My breath catches as it stretches closer. Its tongue gleams. Its fangs drip venom. Its empty eyes stare into my soul. How is this happening? How can there be a snake? I want to shout, stand, run, but I'm frozen to the spot. I'm afraid a noise will make it angry. I'm afraid a movement will make it strike. I'm just me, here, alone, with no one to help me. I have to be still. I have to be silent. If I just keep quiet, it might not hurt me. If I let it do what it wants, it might leave me alone. Just let it do what it wants. Number. Its eyes entrance me, drawing me deeper. Its undulating body hypnotizes. It knows me in a way I thought I'd forgotten, and it thinks it can use that against me. Fear-infused silence presses down on me, filling the air with the same quiet dread I remember. But I'm not going to sit here and take it. Not this time. I'm not a kid, cowering against a dirty cubicle wall. I'm a grown man, and I don't have to let that thing touch me. I'm not going to let it attack. I twist, grab the cistern lid, faster than I should, but I don't care. Bite me if you want, I think, lifting the heavy porcelain. Bite me, and this time, I'll bite back. I don't have to. The snake is frozen, unmoving, beady eyes analyzing my every move as I break its spell. Fuck off, I shout, and slam the cistern lid against the wall, forcing the stalking serpent to retreat. This can't really be happening, I know that, deep down. This is some kind of trauma response, brought on by my return to this lair after so many years. This place where evil may still lurk. This place that should not be standing. The snake is gone, but the hole remains, and I don't want to see what comes next. I lower the cistern lid, drop it to the floor where it clatters, stand to yank up my trousers. There's paper in the dispenser, but I forego it. I just want out, no time to waste. So I reach for the door as I tug up my zipper. 15 minutes to home, 10 if I run. Then I can strip and shower and wash away the filth and putrid memories. My fingertips graze the metal latch. Open the door. A whisper, thin as smoke, stops me dead. I freeze, chest tightening, mind racing. The fluorescent light tubes flicker faster, their buzz an electric hum, like a warning. Did I hear that? Did I imagine it? Was it just another echo from the past? Hurry, let me in. That voice again, insistent, forceful, like a hand around my throat exerting pressure. A voice of authority, the kind that requires you to obey. I shrink back, swallow a lump, both hands fumbling with my belt, drawing the strap so tight it digs into my skin. It sounds the same. It sounds like him, but it can't be. Can it? 35 years later, is he still here? Doing the same thing to innocent children? Open the door. It's a command now, dominating, urgent. The door rattles in its frame and I squeeze my eyes shut. Impossible. He'd be 60, more. He can't still be here. I haven't seen him around town, not since Deborah left, and I moved back home to face my demons. And how is that working out? My eyes snap open. Anger, no. Annoyance, replacing the fear in my chest. I take a deep breath and speak out. Who's there? The sound of my adult voice once again shatters the illusion. The lights aren't panicking. The door isn't shaking. The ghost repeating old words has fallen silent. Fuck this. I step forward, take hold of the latch, ready to face what awaits. If there is someone there, if it is him or someone like him, this time I will take a stand. I'm not a victim. I don't have to comply. I don't have to bite my tongue or keep a secret. I'm not afraid to confront a monster, not anymore, because the monster was always just a bully and a creep. A well-groomed reptile in a top-tier suit and fancy shoes, wearing the face of a paragon of virtue. A fake smiling avatar whose insides were rotten to the core. A symbiote who managed to hide his... Before I slide the latch and open the door, something shifts below and I look down. Twisting into the stall, in the space between door and floor, is a mass of writhing tentacles, weaving and winding through the piss and grot coating the tiles. I stagger back, bump against the toilet bowl, watch the gray appendages approach, twisting around each other like a mass of limbs, reaching out to coil around my ankles. I lift one foot, then the other, hurriedly climb onto the toilet, clutching the top of the stall as the tentacles roll closer. They spread across the floor, curl around the base of the toilet, start to undulate upwards, seeking me out. This can't be happening. I know it's not. It's not. Get away, I shout, my voice bouncing off the tiles. You're not real. But as the words echo, a voice outside the stall whispers back. Not the same as before, but just as familiar. It's real, it says, a warm voice, comforting and gentle. I feel it before I recognize it, like a ghost caressing my cheek. Melissa? It was always real, but you tried to bury it, and it made you close yourself off to the world. I can't breathe. My eyes dart to the stall door, desperate to see if she's on the other side. The door starts to rattle again. The owner of the tentacles, still attempting to get in. I look down to see them curl over the rim of the toilet and brush against my feet. Another voice pipes up from beyond the door, stronger, resentful. You gave him all this power, Brooke accuses, forward as ever. You wouldn't name him, wouldn't tell, not even your mother, who was waiting outside when it happened. You took on that shame and let it destroy you. No, I whisper. Stop. This isn't fair. I just wanted to go to the bathroom. I didn't expect anything else. Tears fill my eyes as the tentacles reach my ankles and slip inside my trouser legs. A third voice, Caroline's my love, enters the void. You wouldn't talk to anyone. You kept it in, let it eat you alive and push me away. Her voice, like the others, stabs my heart and I tremble, blink, try to push it back in time where it belongs. Why am I hearing all this? None of it was my fault. I'm not the reason things never worked out. He is, that man, that perfect, upright citizen the town adored, the educator, the counselor, the patron of the arts and local charities. The polished liar hiding behind crumpled tissue and scrawled numbers on bathroom stall walls. He did this. And what are you going to do about it? That same low voice returns, snapping me back to attention. You think you can keep me out? Locked door or not, I'm coming in. I jolt as something slams against the door, and a length of garden hose slaps over the top, thick and black, swaying as if it's alive. From its winking nozzle, a single drop of viscous liquid falls. I flinch, know what's coming. I reach out to grab it and aim it away, but the tip of the hose erupts quickly, spewing thick, tar-like goo over my face. I squeeze my eyes shut, grip the hose with both hands, howl as the ooze fills my mouth. Good boy. The voice chuckles, and I see red. Number I'm fucking not. I squeeze, throttle, pull on the now fleshy hose, feeling it wriggle and writhe warmly in my grasp. Let go! The man outside the stall shouts, trying to reel it back in. That hurts! Stop! Let go! I'm not your good boy. I hiss through clenched, grinding teeth. But okay, I will. I'll let go. I gave the thick hose one last yank, and the man howls in pain as it snaps, tumbles into the stall, drops loose and limply to the floor. The invading gray tentacles slip from my legs and shrink back, shriveling up as they dissolve, taking the hose and its dirty ooze with them, drawing the nightmare away. I blink, and everything is gone. My face is dry. The hole in the wall is no longer. The only sounds to be heard are the hum of the light tubes and the desperate, panicked pounding of my heart. I dismount from the toilet, reach for the latch, release it, and push open the door. The restroom is empty. I stumble out into the night, the fresh air welcome as I catch my breath. My phone feels cold in my hand as I remove it from an inside jacket pocket. It's late, but I know she'll be awake. Even if she's not, it doesn't matter. I hold the phone to my ear as I walk, wait until I hear her surprised voice. Mom, I say, voice breaking. There's something I have to tell you." The words tumble out, and with them, years of silence as tears flow freely down my face. The ghost of old Jeb Brown. Childhood memories of walking home from school on Halloween Day. Cool breezes under overcast skies. The scratching of dried leaves on the pavement as the wind pushed them by. They crunched under my feet and made a swoosh, swoosh sound as I walked through them. When I got home, I raked them up into mounds and cannonballed into them with a splash like crunchy water. My old Labrador retriever with his gray face would find the energy to join in the fun, pouncing on top of me with a vivaciously wagging tail. The neighborhood was always decorated for fall. There was nothing creepy or scary at all. Hay bales and scarecrows peppered the subdivision along with the old, dried-up corn stalks. Every house had a jack-o'-lantern. We'd spread out old newspaper over the table to carve my pumpkin, cutting off the top. I'd scoop out the sticky fruit and separate the seeds. Mom would wash the seeds and salt them up before baking them in the oven, while I cut out triangular eyes, a nose, and a goofy smile with only a few teeth. A candle was always placed in the center, giving the pumpkins a ghoulish glow. Homework was done with haste. A shower was taken early. Dinner was served before dark. My costume was never anything fancy. A plastic character's suit with a hard-to-see-through plastic mask that was held on by a thin rubber band. Yet, I was proud of my costume, excited to be for one night the character I chose, all ruined by an overly concerned mom who demanded I wear a jacket. The streetlights came on and the subdivision filled with kids accompanied by adults. There were vampires and princesses, robots and witches. Some costumes were homemade, some were store-bought, some were extravagant, and some were cheap. None of us kids cared. It was Operation Candy. My parents released me like I was a hungry jackal looking for a carcass to feed from. Mom would always stay home to hand out the candy, while Dad double-timed it to keep up with me as I ran from house to house. The Fambros' house was always a good one. Their mom would dress up as a silly scarecrow, much like the one from The Wizard of Oz, and sit out on the front porch. She would ask us if we wanted a trick or a treat. If you answered trick, she would do cartwheels or sing and dance, something funny to entertain us kids. I'd pick trick just for a laugh. The Bedwells' home was my favorite. On their porch, they had a scarecrow they called Old Jeb Brown. It was made of denim overalls and a red and black plaid flannel shirt stuffed with straw, boots for feet, gloves for hands, and a jack-o'-lantern for the head. Inside the head, they put a speaker. Mr. Bedwell would sit on the couch inside and wait for trick-or-treaters to walk up and then scare them. Even though I knew it was coming, he always managed to scare me. They would always invite us in and tell us the story of old Jeb Brown. Old Jeb once owned all the land the subdivision was built on. For many years, he lived a reclusive lifestyle on the edge of town. He rarely accepted visitors, and never when they were unannounced. He built a rickety barbed wire fence around his property and posted signs that read, "No trespassing. Violators will be shot on sight." He posted those about every 50 yards or so, according to the story. People, for the most part, took that warning seriously. However, every Halloween, there were those few who would bang on his door and yell trick or treat. Old Jeb would greet them at the door with a rifle in hand. People would go scurrying away. Jeb would always fire a warning shot to let them know to never come back. Late one night, on Halloween, 1953, a group of teens felt it was their place to teach old Jeb a lesson in politeness. They snuck up his driveway, threw a flaming bag of poo on his porch, banged on the door, and hid. Jeb never woke to put out the flaming bag, and it caught his porch on fire. The teens who were hiding in the shadows ran off. Jeb died in the house fire. Mr. Bedwell went on to tell us that the following Halloween, those kids went missing, and that they weren't the only ones. There have been cases of missing teens on Halloween over the decades. He believes it was the ghost of old Jeb Brown exacting revenge on bad kids on the anniversary of his death. As a young kid, the story did a good job of scaring me straight. But when I turned 13, it was just a bunch of malarkey. At that age, I hit a growth spurt and was too big to trick or treat. The little things like jumping in the leaves, carving jack-o'-lanterns, and the magic of autumn were lost on me. Frankly, I hated the season because it meant school was well underway. That year, Halloween fell on a Friday, and 2 of my friends stayed the night at my house. They told me there were other ways to have fun on Halloween than trick-or-treating. We waited until my parents went to bed. We grabbed toilet paper, all the eggs we had, and a couple ball bats. We snuck out of the house late that night. We found a neighbor's house with no lights on and threw toilet paper in their trees, covering it. We then egged their car using half the eggs we had. Then we destroyed their decorations and smashed their mailbox. A light came on in the house and we took off running, dodging behind another house so we wouldn't get caught. We found it all exhilarating, laughing at our antics. We took a shortcut through the yards to the opposite street, Mr. Bedwell's street. My friends saw old Jeb the Scarecrow and immediately wanted to ruin it. I told them I didn't want to mess with that house, that I knew the guy, but they didn't want to listen. They started with the toilet paper, just like the last place. Then they moved on to egging the front of his house. My one friend, Jimmy, grabbed a large landscaping stone from Mr. Bedwell's yard and threw it through his bay window. They turned to run, but Jimmy didn't get away. Old Jeb jumped up and grabbed him. Me and my other friend, Ricky, screamed in fright, but were not about to leave our friend. We started hitting the Scarecrow with the bats, but the bats didn't faze it. By then, the lights were on in Mr. Bedwell's house. He was furious, but ran outside to help Jimmy. The Scarecrow knocked Mr. Bedwell down and ran off with Jimmy. We chased old Jeb all the way to the graveyard. There, Jimmy started sinking into the ground, and the Scarecrow fell into a limp pile of clothes and straw. We grabbed a hold of Jimmy and pulled with all our might, but something stronger was pulling him down. We screamed for him to hold on, but the dirt was rising up over his face. His hands slipped from our grasp, and he was gone. We didn't have time to mourn or dig. The Scarecrow stood back up, alive, and stomped towards us with intent. We scrambled to our feet and ran, but not fast enough. Old Jeb caught Ricky and started dragging him down to the grave. I grabbed Ricky in a bear hug, hoping to keep him above the soil, but I started to sink as well. I let go of Ricky and climbed out. I looked at Ricky. I saw terror in his eyes, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to end up like him and Jimmy. I was scared, so I ran, and I didn't look back. When I got home, I quietly snuck back inside and went to my room upstairs. I looked out the window, and there it was, staring up at me. I sat on my bed watching it. It never moved. Not until the sun came up and it collapsed into a pile of straw and clothes again. 30 years later, and I still have to lock myself in my house every Halloween night. The ghost of old Jeb Brown sits outside and waits,